Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, where we will be talking about collecting payments with the Blackbaud Merchant Services Sky API. I'm Jason Durocher, your host and moderator for this session, and I'm thrilled to have you here with us. Today, we have a fantastic opportunity to dive into the world of BBMS Payments API. And I'm excited to introduce our subject matter expert, Mina Mistry, who will be guiding us through the intricacies and the possibilities of this powerful API. So as many of you know, the BBMS Payments API is a robust payment processing solution designed specifically for nonprofits and the social good sector. It empowers organizations like yours to securely process online payments, manage transactions, and streamline donor engagement, all within the Blackbaud ecosystem. Now, throughout this webinar, we will be sharing valuable insights, best practices, and real-world examples of how the BBMS Payments API can enhance your organization's fundraising efforts, simplify payment workflows, and deliver an exceptional donor experience. So whether you're in and engaging, we'll explore the key features, integration possibilities, and flexibility offered by the BBMS Payments API. Mina is going to walk us through the steps to get started, highlight some use cases, and share some tips for optimizing the implementation process. So without any further ado, I want you to sit back, relax, get ready to immerse yourself in the world of the BBMS Payments API. So once again, welcome to the session. Now let's turn it over to Mina, who is going to show us some more about this API. So Mina, would you be able to give us an overview of Blackbaud Sky Payments API and tell us why is this valuable to Blackbaud customers?
Hey, thanks, Jason. Yes, so absolutely. Happy to be here. Hello, everybody. Welcome to BB Dev Days. Let's start with some background. I wanted to just tell people about the key driver behind why the API has really grown rapidly over the last several years. And the main reason that we've seen is that with Blackbaud customers, as they grow their organizations and looking at really diversifying their incoming revenue, they're still looking for ways to minimize the disruption that that can bring, right? So we have existing tools and existing processes in place, and we really don't want to impact those too much as we're building our best of breed ecosystem for our organization. And that's where the Payments API can really help you. So what that means is that when you want to, let's say, support auctions or decide you want to raise money through telephone fundraising, you can do that and you can partner with your preferred software vendor. However, with the Payments API, you have an opportunity to keep your processing going through your existing merchant account with BBMS. The data that we've collected consistently shows that over half of the organizations who use Blackbaud will have other sources of revenue from online payments or donations or other use cases that are typically not served by Blackbaud software. So these solutions that exist out there that are complementary to the revenue that you generate from your Blackbaud solutions. Some examples are shown on here on this slide. So we have lots of sector-specific applications in things like education, higher education, or arts and cultural. But we also have some use cases that apply to any type of social good organization, like the telephone fundraising that I just mentioned, or events, ticketing events. We have some point of sale solutions, like if you have a gift shop or you sell merchandise at an event. Alumni engagement is a really big one that we see being used through the API. And so what happens when our customers want to support, different software partners, what we see is that our customers are often taking on additional overhead when they have to use a different merchant services provider, right? A lot of software that you go out there to look at today will say, we support these payment processes and you have to pick one and go with that. But what we're increasingly seeing now is that when these third parties are able to integrate with BBMS, it really helps with that transition into new software. So I'm going to take control of the slides here, and the Sky Payments API comes into play to help our customers avoid that additional overhead of working with new partners. And again, being able to use that existing same merchant account through BBMS. We've seen it eliminate a lot of pain points and potential barriers even to adoption of the new software. And the key benefits, again, for the Blackbaud customers who are using these API integrations is that there are no new contracts. So there's no new pricing rates or new agreements that they have to go through, legal to get approval for. The accounting teams in the back office also really love the fact that their reports don't need to change and that the new payments will just flow through the same pricing structure, the same payout process, the same reconciliation processes that they already use today. So to visualize this, the Sky Payments API allows external parties to process payments through BBMS, consolidating the payment processing through a single provider. So this image shows how both Blackbaud on the left and non-Blackbaud software on the right can both use BBMS to process payments. And the left side of the image, where you have the Blackbaud solutions using BBMS, Blackbaud Merchant Services is a fully robust, secure, and reliable payment processor, and it's been around for over a decade, serving Blackbaud solutions, and it processes, hundreds of millions of dollars every year and is scaled over time. The Payments API was introduced just about 5 years ago and really is just a layer on top of that exact same BBMS solution, which, overall, like I said, handles very large volumes of processing every year. So just remember that, the foundational solution of the API has been used for many, many years and is truly a robust solution. There are no additional costs for using the API for our Blackbaud customers. So the processing rate that you pay for your donations that come through Blackbaud solutions will be exactly the same as the rate that you process with when you process through the API. And this is really something that, again, helps simplify things for your back office. All right, so we have a pretty diverse audience here typically at BB Dev Days. I know we have a mix of customers as well as partners, as well as other third-party software organizations in the audience. So one thing I wanted to touch on was all the different types of ways that we see people working with the API. We have hundreds of integrations that benefit our customers today. Some customers even have multiple integrations with BBMS, and these integrations span all over the world where BBMS operates. So we're talking about US and Canada, UK and Europe, as well as Australia and New Zealand. So it's truly a global solution, and really anybody with a valid and approved and active BBMS account can use the API. So let's talk about some of the different working models that we see today. Starting on the left, some of our customers who have their own internal development teams have used the API to build payment capabilities into their own custom software. Typically, this use case is where you have, a development team who has built their own custom donation forms or payments that are being captured for special events or different types of scenarios. And for this use case, getting up and running is pretty straightforward because you're just dealing with permissions internally within your own organization. And once you have those permissions set up to access the BBMS account programmatically, you're good to go, and it's very easy to get up and running. The middle scenario is when we have our customers who work directly with other third-party software companies. They may already have a relationship, and the customer, at the customer's request, the third party will agree to build an integration with BBMS. Again, this is normally initiated by Blackbaud customers. But what we've seen is that in some cases, let's say, customer A wants to use a face-to-face fundraising vendor, and that vendor agrees to build an integration. What we'll see is that third party will then acquire more Blackbaud customers because of the BBMS integration. In fact, we have a real life example of this in Canada, where we had a face-to-face fundraising company who did this for one customer and now has at least a dozen customers of Blackbaud using that integration just because of the demand for that type of consolidation from a payments perspective. And then finally, on the right-hand side, we have our Blackbaud partners. Blackbaud partners are organizations who have, integrated tightly with several different Blackbaud products, all of our sort of CRM, system of record applications, as well as with BBMS. So there are many examples of this today. I've got a few examples on this slide, but we'll talk about a few of them in a bit as well. So in summary, whether you're a customer or a partner or something in between, there are certainly different options and different approaches that we support through the Payments API to add payment capabilities to your solution.
I think we can all agree that the business case for nonprofits using the Blackbaud Payments API is about improving operational efficiency and enabling effective financial management. By leveraging the API's features, the nonprofits can really optimize their donation processes, increase revenue, and better serve their mission. So I'd like us to move into our next section and dive into the capabilities of the API itself and the integration option that it allows for. So we mentioned earlier that there's three main integration options and that the Payments API supports multiple different payment scenarios, such as online card not present payments through websites, in-person payments where we're using various devices to capture payments, and back office transactions that are initiated by merchant account holders. So Mina, can you take us through each of these areas?
Sure. So let's start with online payments. And for those of you who are familiar with the donation forms or event forms as part of Blackbaud Solutions, you may already be aware of our Blackbaud Checkout product. Blackbaud Checkout is our optimized payments user experience that's used in all Blackbaud products today. And it's also available to use via the Sky Payments API. So it's absolutely our number one recommended approach for accepting online payments globally. Blackbaud Checkout leverages a JavaScript iframe to display a secure form within your application, and the form just appears as a native part of your application, but all of the sensitive card information is sent securely and directly to Blackbaud without exposing it to the consuming application. So really the first benefit worth calling out is the added protection from PCI compliance. We still definitely recommend an audit independently be performed, but we know that this model will help reduce your PCI exposure overall. In addition to that, Checkout also provides the most optimal payment methods for the supporters of an organization. It's mobile ready, and it's an experience that works well on all devices. So in terms of payment methods, it supports all of our current digital wallets, including Apple Pay, PayPal, and Venmo. And behind the scenes with Blackbaud Checkout, you're really getting the most up-to-date technology to support secure and compliant transactions as regulated by the payments industry, right? If you remember going back to the image earlier, Checkout powers all of our internal applications as well. So that's where we, as a team, deliver all of our latest updates and features, and that is available to you through the Payments API. Another feature of Checkout is fraud protection. So there's built-in fraud prevention tools in Checkout. So we've got reCAPTCHA, we've got 3DS 2.0, which if you're in Europe, it addresses the strong customer authentication requirement, especially for our UK customers. And we also have our own proprietary blocking algorithms to help prevent fraud. Another thing we have is we have teams dedicated to optimizing this experience with various ongoing A/B tests that make sure that we're maximizing conversions with all the visitors to websites or wherever checkout is surfaced. So Blackbaud Checkout is an important part of the Payments API, and it's really the primary way that developers will integrate with the Payments API. We actually have a really good resource later on that we've linked to that's a video that walks you through the exact process in code on how to set up the right keys and security tokens, how to process a payment with the 2 steps mentioned here, which are the authorized step and then capturing the payment with a server to server call after the authorization. We have a really detailed resource that you guys can take a look at, and it will walk you through that step by step. Another cool thing about Checkout is that you've got online card not present transactions, but there may be use cases where you want to just store a card or a bank account for future use. So like if you have a membership website or something like that, you can have the member store their payment method, and then they can just come back and use that saved payment method for future payments. So that's kind of a different mode of Checkout where you can launch it in a card not present mode, or a mode that enables you to just store the card and not take that payment at that point in time. I will say here, because I know there are some people who have already built a very custom user experience and UI for their applications. So while we do recommend checkout for most use cases, if there is a scenario where you want to maintain your own UX for online transactions, the Payments API does support a non-checkout integration for card not present transactions if that's something that you need. It will obviously be a larger development effort because you have to handle, a lot more of the interactions, and you have to be more careful to protect the card data. You wouldn't also get the digital wallets that are included by default, but it is something that we support if that's something that you need. I want to share a really good example here of a customer who has built their own integration, and this is the Florida State University Foundation. They have built their own platform for donation forms internally. The FSU Foundation, they are a Blackbaud CRM customer. They have their own internal team, and this platform that they've created is used to manage hundreds of donation forms and crowdfunding pages for their university and the foundation. And all of these pages can be customized based on specific fundraising needs. As a BBCRM customer, they already had a BBMS account, and they chose BBMS as the payment processor powering these additional forms because they already had that merchant account. In addition to integrating with the Payments API, Florida State have also integrated with their Blackbaud CRM using the SOAP API for BBCRM, so that they've now got this kind of full circle of data flowing from their custom application through their payment system and back to their system of record in CRM. You can see here an image of their website and also an example of how checkout appears on their website on the right. Their custom pages use Blackbaud Checkout to collect both one-time and recurring gifts. And you can also see here that, they've got this maroon color scheme on their website, and you can customize checkout with the color scheme of your website to make it kind of just a more cohesive experience. So moving on to the second category of integration options, which are card-present payments. So with card-present payments, imagine you have a point of sale in a gift shop or at a front desk at your event or in your building. You're going to need a way to accept payments from people in person. So for card-present payments, we have a couple of main options. And the first one is our Blackbaud payment terminal devices. And these are BBPOS, WisePOS E devices purchased through our BBMS web portal. Today, it is only available in the US at the moment, and it supports a variety of payment methods. It's a contactless device, so it has digital wallets also available for payments. The device is intended to be mainly stationary, but it is portable. You can walk around with it for a short distance as long as you're within Wi-Fi range, and you're not tethered to a fixed location because it's battery operated and it has strong Wi-Fi signals. But it can be used, for point of sale as well as like maybe moving around a little bit at an event or something like that. Like I said, these devices are purchased directly from us. If you are a partner and you have your own BBMS account, then you can obtain your own device too. We get that question a lot because it's like, how can I, set up a test, for example? So you can either get your own device, or you can work with a customer who already has a device to test the integrations. And the way that it works is when you reach the checkout step in your application, you'll actually use Blackbaud Checkout that we just spoke about, but this time it's in a card present mode. And so you'll see the same checkout modal and iframe appear on your application, but instead of entering card details directly into it, the checkout screen will give the user instructions and direct them to the terminal to make a payment. So it's similar to like when you use self-checkout in a grocery store where you scan your items with the big screen, but then it says, hey, go use the PIN pad to make the purchase. So it's that type of joint experience. So after the payment terminal transactions process, BBMS will return all the transaction and payment details back to you in the API response so that you can take that data and feed it into the systems that you need to. Similar to the, in addition to the payment terminal, we also have the Bluefin device. So Blackbaud partners with Bluefin to offer a point-to-point encryption device, P2PE. So with these P2PE devices, the cardholder data is actually encrypted at the point of entry into the device, and it prevents any plain text data from existing in the application or even over the network. The P2PE devices work to even further reduce your PCI scope, and it will typically limit customers to a PCI DSS self-assessment questionnaire, the SAQ, that can overall be, a really big time and money saver for your organization. So that's what we've typically seen. Again, it's like we always say that you need to independently verify your PCI exposure, but the P2P device, I know we've seen it used a lot in, schools, for example, where they have some sort of strict protocols that they need to follow. So this is an option that is available. So like I said, just to kind of paint the picture of, from an integration perspective, how this works, we're still using Blackbaud Checkout for both of these devices. You can see from the code snippet down below that it's like just this card present function that you call, and you just tell us the device partner code. So it will be, 1 for payment terminal or 2 for P2P, for example, and that tells us in checkout what user interface to surface through the checkout experience. We have a lot more information on both of these devices on our Sky Developer website, which we'll link for you at the end of this session. And to give you an example of how the terminal devices are actually used in action, the Akron Zoo, who is a really long-standing customer of Blackbaud, they use Altru, FENXT, and BBMS. For those of you who are not familiar with Altru, it's our software that serves the arts and cultural sector. So the Akron Zoo have said that the time spent by their staff in adding online sales and managing software dropped by at least 50% because of the overall integration between Altru, BBMS, and SwipeTrack's XTrueLink product. SwipeTrack is a Blackbaud ISV partner, and we work really closely with many of our Altru customers in venues such as museums and botanical gardens and other cultural venues. And the Akron Zoo is one of their customers as well. And when they saw their visitors start to increase again after the pandemic, but they weren't yet operating at their full staffing levels, they really needed a way to better streamline the entry into the zoo for ticket sales and walk-up sales and members checking in. XTrueLink, their integration with BBMS and the payment terminal, the Akron Zoo was able to help keep their lines moving, faster and provide guests and members with a really fast and easy way to enter the zoo. So they also had kiosks set up so that, members could just go up there and check in, or people go up there and buy tickets. So you have a kiosk terminal, and then you have the payment terminal right next to it for the payment. So overall, this is a solution that really helped their visitors and members with a good check-in experience, as well as really greatly reduce the time spent by their staff in managing the data behind the scenes, because it automatically flowed into BBMS and into Altru. So the last type of integration we see is what we call merchant originated. And these are transactions where the donor is typically not present. Examples of this are recurring gifts that are processed on a regular basis, or if you've got a direct mail program, we still see lots of those, and you might be entering in payments from those direct mail little pieces of paper. You might also be using a payment method that was previously stored for a one-off payment, and now you want to initiate a transaction. So that's the merchant initiating the transaction. One note I will say on recurring gifts is that Blackbaud Merchant Services won't manage the schedule. So if you set up a recurring gift for, once a month, $50, you will have to trigger, like your custom application will have to trigger that payment request into BBMS. So you can't tell BBMS, process this, on the 5th of every month. That schedule needs to be managed outside of BBMS. But in order to help enable that, we do have some batch processing endpoints through the payments API. They're in beta, but again, they're the same batch processing endpoints that we've used in our internal applications. But these can really help with that recurring scenario if that's something that you are considering, or if you just have multiple offline transactions to process. Another use case that I should point out here is that some of our customers also like to use the P2P device that we just talked about for card present in-person payments. The P2P device can also be used to enter these direct mail payments, for example. So just bear that in mind, because I know that that's a requirement for some of our customers, that even the entry of back office payments needs to be really tightly secure. So if you're looking for a point-to-point encryption device, we have one that will support both online payments as well, or in-person payments as well as back office payments. So that covers our three main integration options. So if this has kind of sparked any questions or thinking about use cases you'd like to serve, let us know in the chat and we can help answer any questions. One of the common questions, I've touched on this a little bit, but one of the common follow-up questions we get about using the Payments API is that once a payment has been processed through BBMS, how can I get that payment recorded in my CRM application? And I want to explain a very simple concept here with this very simple diagram that just is really intended to illustrate that the Sky Payments API, which we're talking about today on the left, is really just used for transaction processing. And using the Sky Payments API does not result in any transaction or gift or constituent information appearing in your CRM applications. Our CRM applications, I'm talking about RE, Luminate, BBCRM, etc. They have separate APIs that are specific to those applications and are built for those applications, intentionally. And you have to use them in conjunction in order to sort of get your data flowing through to your CRM. So typically you'll have a process where you start a gift or a donation or subscription payment from your custom application. You'll use the Payments API to process and capture that payment. Once that's complete, you will then call a different endpoint for, let's say, RE NXT using the Gift API to then push that payment and constituent data into your RE database. So we have, again, lots of examples of that. We actually recorded a session last year at BB Dev Days that talks you through that exact scenario where you want to capture a payment with the Payments API, whether it's one time or recurring, and then get that into RENXT. And with RENXT, for those of you who use that, you'll know that there are automated recurring gifts. So you can create those programmatically through the APIs, which is really another big time saver for customers. A good example of a company who has done just this is Almabase. They are a key Blackbaud partner. And they use multiple Sky APIs to create that true end-to-end experience that I just described. So they use both the Payments API and the RENXT Gift API. Almabase is a platform that offers for educational institutions. It provides everything you need from an alumni engagement to advancement forms, events, online giving, peer-to-peer crowdfunding, membership payments, and more. And they've worked with many Blackbaud customers in the education sector who use both RENXT and BBMS today. Think about like forms for setting up ticket purchases for events or for giving days. The payments that they collect through Alma-based platform will process through BBMS. And in addition, they'll sync that data with RENXT two ways. So you'll get constituent data into Alma-base. Those people make a payment, you can push those payments back into RENXT. It's the two-way sync they've got set up so that all of your constituent data is automatically updated. They also accept recurring gifts. So like I mentioned, they'll seamlessly create the new automated recurring gifts in RENXT, so that overhead would be eliminated for managing those gifts going forward. Almabase is another platform that uses Blackbaud Checkout, so they surface, our Apple Pay and PayPal wallets for online transactions. So this is just a really good example of a really robust integration, a great partner who's been helping multiple customers with saving time and money while extending the capabilities of their Blackbaud solutions. For the partners that we've talked about today, as well as several others, they can be found on the Blackbaud Marketplace. And I'm sure if you've been working within the Sky Developer ecosystem for a while, you should have heard about the Marketplace, but I want to make sure I mention it here too. The Marketplace is where our customers can explore and connect with the integrations that are offered by our partner companies. And it helps our customers grow their ecosystem in a way that's scalable and more connected, because these integrations already are kind of plugged into your Blackbaud solutions. This Marketplace is really a showcase for all of the integrations that are available today, but you can filter, like you can see on the left here, for BBMS, and you'll see the partners who have already built an integration today. So if you're looking for a particular type of capability or functionality, definitely worth checking out if you're a customer to see how you can kind of plug something in with relatively low effort. If you're a developer or a third-party organization, this is really an important benefit in showcasing and growing the integrations that you build on the Sky Developer platform. There are, criteria and things like that you have to meet in order to get published on the Marketplace. But if you're interested in learning more about that, just drop us a note. But this is something that I encourage everyone to go check out. It's at app.blackbaud.com. All right, so hopefully you've gained some new and useful information here today and feel inspired to explore an integration with BBMS. We're here to answer any questions. but we have some really valuable resources that will help fast track your learning experience. So I'm going to hand it back to Jason to share those with you now.
All right, well, thank you, Mina. As we wrap up, here's some additional learning resources that are available. We invite you to take a look at all the documentation and tutorials and developer tools that will help with implementing and making the most of the BBMS API. And remember, we have a Sky Payments API online community that can assist you along the way. Should you have any questions or need any further guidance, don't hesitate to reach out using our community forum. And as a friendly reminder, all these links that you see here in the presentation are available for download. And as we conclude the session, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to Mina for sharing her expertise and guiding us through the various integration options associated with the BBMS Payments API. And before we wrap up, I'd like to also extend a special thank you to all of you for attending this session and for your insightful questions that we've received throughout the session. So your engagement is what makes these webinars truly valuable, and we appreciate your time and your interest. So on behalf of the entire Blackbaud team, we wish you all the best in your journey with the BBMS Payments API. We look forward to seeing all of the innovative ways that you leverage this tool and drive your organization's mission forward. So once again, thank you for joining us today. Please stay connected with us through our developer community and keep an eye out for future webinars and events. See you next time.